everybody, I'm Kathleen Connors-Brady and I am about to start my language assessment. So, moment of truth, here we go. All right. Compound words. All right, hope you're ready, Mary. Compound words coming at ya. I will be presenting my lesson today to dog. So from here forward, I'll be in teacher lesson mode. Hi dog, would you come over and join me for a lesson in the language section? Awesome. Dog, thanks for coming and joining me for our language lesson today. I've been noticing that you've been doing a really great job with your word study lessons, and you are really understanding those syllables that we've been practicing in the word segmenting so well. So I thought I'd share with you a lesson on compound words today. Would you like to have that lesson? Okay, great. I thought you'd be excited. So compound words are similar to word segments where we're looking at parts of the word, but with compound words, we're looking at how two separate words come together to build one word. So a good example of that is a word like raincoat. You have two words that make that one word together, rain and coat. And when you put them together, you get raincoat, one word together. Let's look at some other compound words and discuss how they go together. Here's a word called snow. And here's a word called flake. We know what snow is because we've seen that come down from the sky. And we know what flakes are. You've probably eaten some Frosted Flakes in your cereal. When we put snow and flake together, we get the word snowflake. Can you say that with me? Snowflake. Snow and flake come together. Snowflake. I have some other compound words I wanted to share with you. We discussed rain and coat. We have rain and coat. Raincoat. And we have soap and dish. Soap and dish. Soap dish. And we bring them together. Ooh. Ball and base. Baseball. Base and ball. Baseball. Ooh, boat and motor. Does boat motor make a word? Oh no, you're right, but motor boat does. Motor and boat. Motorboat. Here's one more for you. Blue and berry. Blue and berry. Blueberry. Let's put them together. So compound words sound like they're going to be a very complicated thing, but really they're just when two separate words come together to make one word together. Snow and flake, snowflake. Rain and coat, raincoat. Soap and dish, soap dish. Base and ball, baseball. Motor and boat, motorboat. And blue and berry, blueberry. Do you have any questions for me about that? Oh, I'm glad you feel like you understand it. I knew you were ready for this lesson. I knew you were going to have success with it. As some follow-up work to this, I would love it if you would go around the classroom and find objects that are compound words. You could record them in writing, or you can record them with a picture. Just please make sure you put the title, Compound Words, on that paper for me. Oh, you're excited to do that? That's awesome. Okay, well, thanks for coming to lesson today. It was a pleasure having you. I'm so excited to check out your follow-up work. And that is compound words. So let me get my questions and answer them very officially for you. If the child is unable to focus on your lesson, what modifications could you make? Well, the good thing about this lesson is that it's short, thank goodness. But if the child was having a really hard time to sit through the duration of that, I would encourage them to find these items in the classroom. Select words where they're the objects out in the classroom so they could get up and go find them. Have them prepared ahead of time if I know I'm inviting a student to this lesson who tends to have difficulty with focus. Equally, having the students come with their own sketchbook and sketching their own pictures of the compound words and then creating illustrations for each of the individual words and putting them together to make a compound word would also help with focus. Or just having the students record as we go. I've used that trick with some students, older students, it tends to work better for, but just having them have an activity helps a lot with focus. Some of your first year students are not yet reading. What materials would you use to assist them in developing reading skills? So again, the word picture association, the word object association, so having physical representations of the word or picture representations of the word to help them associate snowflake and the word snowflake. Having them spell out these words with the movable alphabet to create that phonemic phonic awareness and continue with the word segmenting and the syllable work the students have been doing before this lesson. Those would help a lot. What else are we asking here? Oh, and sandpaper letters. To have the sandpaper letters with the lesson as well, have the students find the letters for each of the word, go through and identify each of the sounds in each individual word. Those would all help develop reading skills. What lessons would have come before the one you are presenting, and what will come next? Thank goodness I mentioned already the student would have had lessons in word segmenting and syllables, isolating syllables, identifying how many syllables in a word, understanding how parts with letters come together to make one word. So they would already understand that segmenting aspect, and then compound words builds beautifully onto that, where we're still segmenting, but we're isolating individual words that build the compound. And then what would come next would be roots, and then prefixes and suffixes. So we're still staying in that breaking down and isolating sounds and segments of words, but then continue to build onto the next level. How can you access the students' learning? How can you access the students' learning with this lesson? I would access the students' learning by building on what they already know. So I would have a discussion with them about what knowledge we had beforehand, about the syllable work we've been doing, about the word segmenting that we've been doing, about vocab and spelling lists and word studies that also tie in and are relevant to the compound word factor or the words they're going to be seeing in this lesson. But access is a little bit weird. In case that's supposed to say assess, I would assess the students' learning by, okay, you have how I would access the students' learning. If that's supposed to say assess, I would assess the students' learning through discussion questions in the lesson, through their follow-up work after the lesson. So as you saw me provide a follow-up work idea for dog, I would then check the follow-up work and make sure that there was appropriate comprehension, the comprehension I would expect to come from the lesson. What is the control of error for this lesson? What are some points of interest? How is the difficulty isolated in this lesson? So the control of error for this lesson is that the words need to go together, thank goodness. So for example, soap and coat or rain and dish are not going to go together. So if the student used this exact material for any sort of follow-up work or use this material in the lesson with me, they would be able to identify just through logical thinking, rational problem solving, that rain and dish are not a word and do not make sense. So they would be able to self-monitor their progression by making sure they are connecting two individual words that go together to form a compound word that equally makes sense. Also, I would have words that couldn't be put together in other ways. So the material is prepared ahead of time for the students to find success independently and working with it. Points of interest are the word studies themselves, the words selected for the word studies, making sure to use words that appeal to the students or that appeal to other things going on in the classroom that they are interested in. Creating follow-up work for the students equally in developing the compound words that they are equally interested in. So some students finding objects in the classroom isn't going to be really what floats their boat. So asking for their opinions, for their own follow-up, and if I have a student that's obsessed with superheroes, then we're going to list all the superheroes whose names are compound words like super and man, bam-a-lam. So that is what I would do for those type of students to appeal to them in an appropriate way, or to appeal to the points of interest. And how is the difficulty isolated? Well, the difficulty is isolated similarly with the control of error, where the students are able to self-monitor their progression by making sure that the words logically go together to make sense. And did I answer that appropriately? Yeah. There's not much to this lesson. This is a pretty easy peasy, straightforward lesson. So I think I've answered those questions appropriately. I'm concerned about that last one. How is the difficulty isolated in this lesson? Through the correct use of the material, and the material being prepared so that the words go together in a logical way, and the students just needing to ensure that the words that they are creating compounds out of actually make logical compounds. All right. I hope I answered those questions satisfactorily, and I hope that this lesson presentation was everything you would have expected it to be. I ended the lesson with dog, but kept the material out because I wasn't sure if I was going to need the material for any of these follow-up questions. But then at the end of the lesson, I have the students typically help me restore my material so that I can be sure they know where to find the material in the classroom. So dog would help me clean up my words. And then a lot of times I say, okay, dog, would you restore this material to the shelf? And cat, would you please roll up the mat? And fish, would you please provide clipboards for our follow-up work, or things of that nature to make sure we're all working as a team. In this case, it's easy peasy because all my phonics drawers are right here. That makes life so simple. And dog,